Well, okay. The saying goes, this is not the dog, this is the man. And the thing I wanted to say is that, the dog's catchphrase is, I might just be a idiotic, stupid dog, but my catchphrase is, I am a, whatever you say, oxygen deprivation man, okay? I prefer to have the dog talk for me. He can quote me exactly, and that's good for everybody. And then everybody don't gotta worry, but whatever. I'm trying to make my voice sound more like the man because my voice almost sounds identically like the dog's. But whatever, it doesn't even matter. I'm just the man. And I'm going to turn over the dog, but the dog asked me, because this is such a monumentous thing. This is the first annual edition of the Adherent of the Months Club. The Adherent of the Months Club. And we're going to post your catchphrase, your channel, whatever they say. And, we got a couple of adherents that got their own channels, so we're going to post them. Hopefully this gets the broadening out of the adherents channels. We don't know. But that's why they asked me point blank to come up here, blank to say, I'm the man. I'm going to, I'm introducing this whole cascade, whatever they said, cascade, a cavalcade of morons, whatever. I'm going to turn over the dog. All right, everybody. I might just be idiotic, stupid dog. Let's have a round of applause for the man. Hey, the man's going to go sit down. He's sitting down right next to the producer. And guess what? The writer's here. And we're trying to have a contest to see who's more fucked up. The writer, the producer, or the man. But as the man said, this is the introduction. This is the inaugural Adherent of the Month. We're going to get right into it because what YouTube is saying is we got to get to 10 minutes to make some money. So we're going to try to, whatever you say, stretch. So we're going to try to stretch. As an aside, dogs don't get hemorrhoids. But sometimes when you give the dogs the wrong kind of kibble, they start munching and crunching on old other dogs' poop. They won't usually eat their own poop. Sometimes they eat other dogs' poop. And then they get some parasites. If that old dog poop's been laying out there, sometimes it's sun-dried. In Kentucky, you're usually safe. But in other states like Pennsylvania, you get deer ticks in the poop. Other situations, you get guppies or tadpoles in the poop. So you can't, you got to be careful. But what I'm saying is we're going to endorse, if your kibble is so crappy that your dog's eating poop off the side of the road, maybe you should invest in Calcan. Calcan. This is an in-commercial thing. It's a new thing we're doing. It's a total broadening out process. This is a commercial for Calcan dog food. You check it out, folks. Calcan is a big sponsor of the first annual, and hopefully continuing, Adherent of the Months Club. All right, we're going to get right into it. First off, when they asked me to do it, I said, let's let the man do it. And they said, the man's a bigger moron than you are. And I was like, but I said, again, give me a little ice in my chalice. So I have a silver, I think it's pewter. It could be sterling silver, I don't know. It's a dog bowl, but it's really very thick and beautiful. And you throw ice in it, it lasts. You can have bourbon, you can have everything you want there. And I try to drink my bourbon and my wine and my spirits and my beer in my own personal dog chalice. So I'm going to just take a sip of my dog chalice because this is a special event, folks. We're honoring the top 3 adherents of the month. And it's really their commenters because the only adherents that can make the list are commenters. And so we're actually honoring the commenters. But whatever, it doesn't even matter. Don't worry about it. Oh my gosh, as a dog, I almost got a piece of ice caught in my throat. I almost had a larynx infarction. Gosh almighty. Thank God it's ice. It'll evaporate and then I can go on. Goodness gracious. So, second runner-up is the asshole who just recently said this is unlistenable, disconnected bullshit. And that's all the time we have for that adherent. That adherent made the grade because we all started saying, oh my God, he's right. But then we all said, that's what it is. That's what we do. It's disconnected bullshit. What are you, crazy? You didn't think that's what it was? So that adherent, the third place adherent, the second runner-up, he probably won't even know he won. But whatever. He might be a loser anyways. I shouldn't have said that. I'm trying to keep it clean, folks, because this is a celebration of the adherents and mostly the commenting adherents. So I just want to get a quick time check. 4:54 and counting. We're halfway there, folks, and believe me, at 10 minutes, we're going to choke this out like a chicken with smallpox. But the second adherent, we want to take a little bit of extra time for the second adherent. Because the second adherent was, and you can look them up, the first adherent is going to be broadcast. The name of this podcast, this post, is the three names of these adherents. The first runner-up, the second runner-up, and the main adherent, winner, adherent of the month. Adherent of the month club. But anyways, the second adherent, he was much like the first, a pretty big asshole. He's probably young. He probably doesn't even know what's going on. He's probably got his head up his ass like a chicken with scoliosis. Don't worry about it. All right, so the adherents, their job is to listen and hit subscribe and log time so we can make a little fucking money. We're not making shit. All of this talent's going to waste. Because until you can get a big, thick chain or something, get a private jet, doesn't even make any sense to fucking bother with this bullshit. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the second adherent, he turned out to be as big asshole as the first. The second runner-up was just as big as asshole as the first runner-up. The first runner-up, his whole thing was that we couldn't be this, that, or the other thing, but he made the most long-winded post in the history of our channel, handle, whatever we are. This is it. He said that, first off, we are no kind of art critic. And I was like, yeah, guess what? Who in your right mind would think we were art critic? Why did he even go there first? It's like a dog who's trying to find a freaking rabbit or a grouse or a squirrel. He tries to go and tackle a moose. Or maybe gets in a fight with a mountain lion. It doesn't even make any sense. Start with a butterfly or a moth and work your way up. That's what I'm saying to the second adherent. You don't want to tangle with us. We've been in this for, a little over a year. And we're also very old and we're stupid. We have oxygen deprivation. That means we're dangerous. If you don't have much knowledge or much intelligence, believe me, you're scary, stupid, dangerous. You're as dangerous as a cock gun, as they say in Western Kentucky. They don't use this accent in Western Kentucky. Because this, we're imported people from Pennsylvania and parts unknown, I think on the border of New York, but they never knew it was the border of whatever, It was the border of Indiana, the border of Chicago, Illinois. Pennsylvania doesn't even border. That maybe doesn't even, I think Pennsylvania might border Ohio maybe, and it probably borders New Jersey, New York, all the better states, New Jersey, New York, the smart states. That's where PA gets their brains, from New Jersey and New York. But we also upstate New York, which is like a different state altogether. All of a sudden you get into Trump country. I mean, Pennsylvania and New York, besides the very city of the cities and the suburbs, the suburb of the suburbs, they're pretty much pure Donald Trump country. Like you have some kind of zealots or patriots or prophets. There's like 1 out of 100 might be saying, Joe Biden, let's go Joey B, big guy over here, let's go Joey B. The rest of them are saying, I'm a Donald Trump sycophant, I'm a Donald Trump adherent themselves. They like Donald Trump that much. But the second adherent, to put a long story short, said we couldn't be no kind of an art critic. Also, I can't remember. That's how bad his post thing was. It wasn't even so great, but it's this thing that he won. He won the most long-winded, windy post of our history. He's the record holder. His records will be shattered. He'll be forgotten. Long ago, just like the kings of Egypt, no one will care whatever his name was. I don't even care if you write it in sandstone. We're not going to remember the first runner-up, adherent, because he was snarky, snarly, nasty. He was just tearing us down. But he was the most long-winded comment. He had the most syllables. And if you do a syllable count, because the funny thing is, if you do a syllable count, you're going to find out that the first adherent, the numero uno adherent, 0 runner-up, he's the one. He could have almost tied or surpassed the first runner-up, the second place adherent, for windiness, syllable count. We counted the syllables and we were like, oh my God, shit, we're going to have to give a double prize to the first adherent. But the first adherent, folks, the numero uno adherent, they were that, and we don't know what the adherent is. The adherent, could possibly be catfishing us. And I think that might be what it was, because it's too golden to imagine it could happen that way. We made a post that was kind of, rough on a transgender, whether they are a he or a she. That used to be a he, or the latter used to be a she. Could be a he, that used to be a she. It could be a she, that used to be a he. You don't say it that way. It's too long-winded. You just say he, she. It took me a long time. It took me a long time to get there, like 5.5 months. It was like they count up the days, like, Jesus, like, whatever. It's like, we can't even figure it out. That's not 300 some days. 5 months, it's like, I'm going to guess, like 149 days. No one could figure it out. No one could. Einstein couldn't figure out how long we were being, whatever you say, transgender phobic. Then we finally started saying, okay, it's just like the African-American bullshit, black bullshit. Black is beautiful, so I'm not going to say black. Black is what it is. White, black, whatever. Yellow, this, that, the other, red, it doesn't matter. But when it went to African-American, it kind of stuck in my craw, because I was like, geez, it's a lot more syllables, whatever. It's a lot wordier, it's a lot windier. African-American. Then they finally went back to black. Black is beautiful. What do you guys cry? What do you guys say? Black is it. But we weren't, it took us a while. Once they try to say, you got to give up black. And, at old school, this is where it could get nasty. Be careful. This could be a jokish situation. We're going to joke with the first adherents because we're going to race. Racial jokes are okay. You can't really joke about adherents, the first or second runners up, because they're too touchy. You can't really joke about transsexuals because it's, too new. So you got to go back to race. We're going to joke about race. I can't remember the joke I was going to say. Now I can't remember the joke. Explaining it so long, I can't remember the joke. It was going to be expendable. Black people could be expendable. Oh, I know. I don't even remember the joke, but the train of thought was, you went from saying there are black people, but in the old days, that's the joke. In the old days, they could say cocoon, marathallo, mallow. They could say tyranny. They could say a lot of things that meant really derogatory, nasty words for black that was just a substitute for the N-word. That's how trained we are today, folks. We're not even saying somebody. That's the Italian word for something close. That's an African nation. They called something like was Nigar. And you're like, what? Nigar? You're going to name it that? I mean, maybe you're like a little kid in white world America. Like, why'd they name it that? They're trying to brainwash me into being racist. Nigar? I'm supposed to stop saying that word. Oh, excuse me, folks. When I drink from whiskey from my chest, I was choking. But you're a little white kid, The man explained it to me. Hey, I can do my own talking, dog, and I'll say it for myself, okay? Yeah. In the old days, you're like trying to teach you arithmetic or whatever, and then they're going to say, you can't say black this, black the other thing, even though your parents and everybody around you are saying N-word this, N-word that, N-word. The best thing I could say, he's a good N-word. I don't even know why. I don't even want to get into it, but whatever. It doesn't matter. But, that's the kind of thing you're growing up. And then they say, hey, you can't say N-word this, N-word that. You can't say calicoon. You can't say marsiziac, all the N-word substitution words. You got to say black, okay? And you're like, black? Yeah, so what? It sounds good. They used to say colored. Now they're going to say black. But black sounds about right. They're black. Some aren't even. There's very few blacks. They're mostly different shades of less than black, And, that's okay. All the whites, they're very few shades of really lily white. They want to be darker. They always want tan. But, all the blacks, they were saying, this, that, the other thing, call us African American. So what I'm saying is, as a man, it took me a while to figure out, you got to say African American, okay? But then the whole screwed up thing is finally they trained me to say African American. You couldn't even think about the substitute words for N-word. You weren't even going to think about the N-word. But then they start twirling around the globe in 5th grade, and that's Niger. There's a country Niger. I was like, you named a country Niger in the middle of Africa? Who came up with that idea? Where did they come? Where did they dream up? That's like saying for a white world, there's like a white trash stand right in the middle of America. It's not part of America. It's an old Indian tribe. White stand, white trash stand. I didn't know. So, anyways, finally they trained us. You got to say African American. You're like, that's a lot of syllables. Then all of a sudden everybody's like, fuck, we don't even want to stand with this bullshit. Stupid. So it's like, go back to black. And then lately they're going back to black. So all this transgender name and this, that, and the other thing and all the other stuff, eventually they're going to shorten it all up. They started with the short, but if you start with the short LBTQB, whatever, nobody can learn what the frick they're even supposed to be worrying about. So Whatever. It's like spittle on a microphone, folks. It goes down in layers. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm as a dog. When I drink whiskey in my chalice, I burp. It's horrifying. Let me take another little lap. Real quick lap. You want to take a little lap around the pool. You can build up your muscles. You want to take a little lap around your whiskey glass or chalice to catch on with whatever you think you're talking about. It doesn't even matter. The thing I want to say is that adherent, we're going to crack a few jokes about the fact that they're transgender. We couldn't figure out which transgender. We thought they were a transgender because the take was about a transgender woman. She's a woman now. See, that's what the whole point of the this, that, the other thing, the blacks and the African-American go back and forth. They trained us to say, it takes a while, like 6, 7, 8 months for the good white people. You go say they're the good ones. You say the good ones are like, yeah, whatever. We want to call you this, whatever. So we had to say she only and figure out in our brains it's she only once they are a man that went to a woman, but they're a full woman, this, that, the other thing. Maybe they don't have no boobs. Maybe they didn't take their hormones. I think a cross-dresser can't be a transgender. So I'll look that one up and figure that one out, everybody. But this adherent, the first champion of the adherent of the month, we're pretty confident that we're awarding this to a woman transgender, which we're pretty going to, eventually let's just say woman. And it might work that way because it's shorter, woman. We might just say with the O and that sting and the X, I don't even know if O with a triangle at the end. I don't know which one meant the woman. I'm an idiotic, stupid dog, so how could I possibly know which one meant the woman, which one meant the man? Prince combined them. So after I saw that in 1990 in my dog remembrance, watching MTV in my dog remembrance, once Prince did his thing, I couldn't even figure out. Prince, formerly known as this, the symbol formerly known as Prince, I didn't even figure it out, but it doesn't matter. The first champion, our first champion, turns out, and who could have thought it? I think it speaks for itself, folks. Our first champion is a woman, period. And that's the nicest thing we could say to crown the new adherent, because I pray to God that's what it is. If it's the other way around, we screwed the whole take up. It's screwed up. The whole thing is good, but the last end is, because when you say it's a woman, period, I'm not explaining nothing that way. I'm just saying thank you for your post. Your post, the thing about your post was, we're a bunch of jack-offs, a bunch of morons, a bunch of assholes. Asshole on the side of a billboard, an asshole like 3 assholes deep on one of them demonic things with a bunch of necks and dragon heads at the end, and they got like 3 assholes at the back. We're that kind of asshole. But anyways, the adherent still reached out, and we're pretty confident it's a woman, period, adherent. And with all our flaws or our foibles or our stupidity, she tried to entertain us. She tried to educate us. She reached out. She went across the Rubicon with like an outstretched arm, like the finger of God. She went across the Rubicon to say, hey, jerky, I'm the only one who heard you. It's like a spaceman out in the middle of the universe, floating around, doesn't know what's going on. He gets a signal, a radio wave from something. So she, it's that rare. It's almost like, whatever. She said, okay, let's see what we can do with this. And so we want to crown her. And the beautiful thing is the rider's back. She's drunk. She's slumping drunk. She's getting like Roseanne. She's like a young Roseanne. The rider girl's like a young Roseanne just screaming on Kill Tony. The producer, you can't even figure him out. I think the producer's trying to find himself a gun like you strap around your whole belly like in the old days, Dodge City, like a gun belt with all the little things slide your bullets in, a big buckle, and you got to have your pistol hanging down. You got to tie the end of your pistol down to your knee. It's like a kind of a gun belt with a pistol. I think that's what the adherent is trying to get. I think the adherent might be a Florida refugee, Girboni, whatever. It doesn't matter. And we don't even know who the second runner-up was because he was so brief. Brevity, like Shakespeare said, is the fountain of intellectuals. Not even. Brevity is like the fountain of not even being concise. That's the same thing. That's a double entendre. But I think I'm going to close with a double entendre, as a matter of fact. So All right. I'm going to bring the man back in because I think he understands what's going on. And I'm going to step over and hang out with the producer, the writer, and whatever, the ghost of the man. All right, dog. So what we want to say is, I forget now. There's no, and I'm quoting the producer, no publicity is bad publicity. It's like a double entendre. Like you could be humping somebody, you don't know if it's a guy or a lady. Just humping them. You don't even know. It's like a double entendre that way. No publicity is bad publicity. Then there was this other thing from the Adherents. And the producer said, oh my God, I can't remember what it was. No comments. That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. No comments are bad comments. You could take it either way. No comments are bad comments. That could be taken either way. I think it's a double entendre. But anyways, this will end our first, it's going to be a monthly thing if we get enough adherents commenting. If we don't, so be it. These 3 are comments. You're going to see blue. You could touch them. You could go to their page. You could see what they're doing. I don't even know what they're doing, but you could. This is free advertisement. This is pretty good advertisement. This is showcasing them, and I think it's like a 22-minute, it's almost 22 minutes. It's 21 minutes and 11 seconds, 12 seconds, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 seconds, and